I ran until my lungs burned, my small legs carrying me faster than I thought they could. Gravel bit into my bare feet, my tiny hands clutching the worn straps of my backpack as though my life depended on it, because it did. Behind me, I could still hear his voice, my father's, shouting my name in a tone that wasn't filled with love but with rage. The kind of rage that left bruises, the kind that left me shaking even when the shouting stopped. Up ahead, the roar of engines cut through the night. A gang of bikers, huge men in leather, tattooed arms glistening under the fading sun, had pulled off by the roadside. To most, they looked terrifying. To me, they were my only chance. With tears streaking my cheeks, I stumbled into their circle of chrome and thunder, my voice cracking as I cried out, "Please, please hide me from my dad." The bikers froze. Their leader, a tall man with a scar slicing across his cheek, swung his leg off his Harley and stared at me. For a second, I thought he might turn me away. But then, his eyes fell to the small backpack clutched to my chest. And when they finally looked inside, the air around us seemed to freeze. What they found wasn't what anyone expected. Not me, not them. My name is Aliyah. I was only 9 years old the night I begged bikers to save me. You'd think someone my age would be scared of men like them. Loud, rough-looking, their laughter booming like thunder. But fear of my father was bigger than fear of anything else in this world. I didn't even think. My feet carried me to them, my voice betraying me in a trembling scream I couldn't hold back. "Please, don't let him take me back." The leader crouched down, his eyes narrowing as if he was trying to decide if I was telling the truth. He smelled like leather and smoke, but his voice came out softer than I ever imagined. "Kid," he said, "who are you running from?" Before I could answer, the rumble of an old truck echoed down the road, the sound I dreaded. My father's truck. My stomach twisted into knots. The bikers didn't ask any more questions. The leader pulled me behind him and nodded to his men. They surrounded me like a wall of steel and flesh. For the first time in my life, someone was standing between me and him. But it wasn't just me they were protecting. Because in my backpack was a secret. A dangerous one. One that even I didn't fully understand at the time. And when they unzipped it and saw what I had risked everything to escape with, they looked at each other in shock. That was the night everything changed. The bikers formed a shield around me, their black jackets and broad shoulders blocking out the headlights of my father's approaching truck. My heart slammed against my ribs. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the gravel beneath my feet, but I gripped my backpack tighter instead. The leader, he told the others to call him Razor, rested a hand on the hilt of his knife. Not in a way that threatened me, but in a way that told the world he was ready. "Stay behind me, kid," he whispered, without even looking back. My father's truck screeched to a stop, gravel flying. The door flung open and there he was, his eyes bloodshot, his face twisted into something monstrous. "Aliyah." His voice cracked the air like a whip. "Get over here. Now." I flinched. My knees buckled. My instinct screamed at me to obey, but Razor didn't move. Neither did the others. Instead, one of them, a huge man with tattoos all the way down his neck, took a step forward. "Kid said she doesn't want to go," he said, his voice like rolling thunder. My father spat on the ground. "She's mine. My daughter. You don't get to say what happens with her." His eyes flicked toward me, and his lips curled into a cruel smile. "She always comes back. She knows better." I squeezed the straps of my backpack. "No. Not this time." Razor finally stepped forward. His scar glinted under the pale moonlight. "Not tonight," he said quietly. You don't touch her tonight. My father's rage was boiling. I could see his fists tightening. But then Razor's men revved their bikes all at once, the engines growling like lions. The sound was deafening, shaking the air, warning my father not to take another step. For the first time in my life, I felt the weight shift. My father, the man who always controlled everything, wasn't in control anymore. But that didn't mean I was safe. Because Razor's eyes flicked to my backpack, and I knew it was only a matter of time before they asked the question I'd been dreading. What's in the bag, kid? And when they found out, everything would change again. The world felt like it was holding its breath. My father's curses echoed in the distance as he paced near his truck, too scared, or too smart, to take another step toward the bikers. But Razor's question hung in the air heavier than the smoke from their engines. I clutched the backpack so tightly my knuckles ached. It's mine, I whispered. My voice came out so small, it was almost swallowed by the rumble of the bikes. Razor's scarred face softened, but his eyes stayed sharp. He crouched so he was level with me, his leather jacket creaking as he bent down. Kid, listen. We're putting our necks out here for you. If we don't know what we're protecting, we can't keep you safe. My stomach twisted. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to spill everything right there on the gravel. But the thought of my father's voice, his fists, his threats, pinned my tongue in silence. Razor's hand stretched forward. Not fast. Not rough. Just steady. Let me see. I froze. My chest rose and fell too fast. My father's voice thundered from behind the wall of bikers. Don't you touch that bag. It's not hers. The words stabbed through me. He was lying. It was mine. Not because I bought it, not because it was filled with toys or clothes, but because inside that bag was the only piece of my mom I had left. My lips trembled. He doesn't want you to see because I couldn't finish. Razor looked at me, then at his men, then back at me. His voice dropped low. You trust me, kid. Did I? They were strangers, rough men with scars and smoke and knives. But when Razor looked at me, I didn't see fear. I didn't see control. I saw protection. Something I'd never felt from any man in my life. With shaky hands, I held out the bag. He unzipped it. The men leaned in, their shadows blocking the moonlight as Razor's hand dipped inside. When he pulled out what was hidden there, the entire circle of bikers went silent. Inside my backpack, wrapped in a thin, faded scarf, was a stack of papers. Old, folded, fragile. On top, a photograph of my mom holding me when I was a baby. And beneath that, a small notebook with pages full of numbers, addresses, and names, written in my mom's handwriting. Razor flipped through it slowly. His brows furrowed deeper with every page. Finally, he looked up at me. Kid, he said, his voice sharper now, do you have any idea what this is? I shook my head, tears spilling. All I know is she died for it. And my dad, he's been trying to take it from me ever since. The bikers glanced at each other. Razor zipped the bag shut, his jaw tightening. Then he stood, pulling me behind him again as my father started shouting louder, more desperate now. She's not going back with you, Razor growled. Because now, it wasn't just about protecting me. It was about protecting what my mom had left behind. Secrets that even I didn't understand yet. And those secrets were powerful enough to get someone killed. The night was heavy with smoke, engines rumbling like restless giants. Razor's hand gripped the notebook tighter as he turned to face his men. They weren't laughing anymore. Their faces, hardened from years of fights, roads, and scars, were dead serious. One of them, a bald man with a jagged tattoo of flames up his arm, muttered, "This ain't no kid's doodle book, Razor. These are names. These are roots." Another spat into the gravel, shaking his head. "These are cartel codes. Drug runs. Drop spots. This is big. Cartel." The word made my stomach sink even though I barely understood it. All I knew was that my mom had whispered it once, years ago, when she tucked me into bed. "If anything ever happens to me, Aaliyah, protect the book. Don't ever let him take it." And now Razor was holding it. My father stepped closer, veins bulging in his neck, his voice cracking like fire. "Hand it over. That book isn't hers, it's mine." I flinched at the word. Mine. That's all he ever said, like I wasn't a person, just something he owned. But Razor didn't move. His scar seemed deeper under the moonlight as he stared my father down. "She's 9 years old, man. 9. And you're chasing her through the dark for this." He shook the notebook. "That's not a dad. That's a coward." My father's face twisted with rage. "You don't know what you're messing with. You think you're tough, Razor? You're nothing compared to the men who want that book back. If you keep it," he jabbed his finger toward me, "you're all dead." The air grew heavier. The bikers exchanged looks. Some of them shifted uneasily. For men who rode without fear, the mention of the cartel still carried weight. I felt small, smaller than ever, standing behind Razor. My fingers dug into my backpack straps. I wanted to scream, to run, to hide, but Razor's hand rested briefly on my shoulder. Just 1 second. Just enough for me to know he wasn't moving. He turned back to his crew. His voice was low, gravelly, but it carried like thunder. "We've all lost people to these guys. Brothers. Friends. We've buried more than I care to count. And now this little girl, this kid, is carrying the last piece of her mama, the proof of what those bastards are doing." He held up the notebook, then looked back at me. For a moment, the scarred biker didn't look like a criminal or a savage. He looked like a protector. "We're not handing her over," Razor said. "Not her. Not the book. Not tonight. Not ever." The men nodded one by one, fists clenching, eyes burning. The sound of engines revving again filled the air, this time not as a warning, but as a promise. My father shouted, cursed, even threatened to kill us all. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't standing alone. A wall of leather, steel, and loyalty stood in front of me. And in that moment, I knew, the bikers weren't just protecting me. They were about to go to war for me. The engines roared louder as the bikers formed a circle, their headlights cutting through the night. I clutched my backpack to my chest like a lifeline, every beat of my heart slamming against the fabric. But then Razor froze. His scar seemed to twitch as he raised his head, listening. In the distance, beyond the hiss of the cicadas and the groan of my father's truck, another sound rolled in. Low. Deep. Like thunder, but not thunder. Engines. Lots of them. The cartel was coming. Razor's men cursed under their breath. The bald one, Torch, spat onto the gravel. "We got company. They ain't gonna just ask nicely." Razor growled, his voice steady, commanding, "Mount up. We ride. We don't stop till she's safe." I didn't know what safe meant anymore. I'd never really had it. But the way his men moved, fast, disciplined, like soldiers, I started to believe maybe I'd feel it for the first time. My father, though, was grinning now. A sick grin. "Told you. You can't run from them. They'll skin you alive for touching that book. Razor turned his head, slow and sharp, and for the first time I saw his rage. His hand grabbed my father by the shirt, pulling him close enough to smell the smoke and whiskey on his breath. You sold out your own wife for this, didn't you? Razor hissed. The world tilted. My knees weakened. My chest felt like it cracked in half. My father's silence was answer enough. My mom. The one person who had loved me. The one who whispered lullabies even when her voice shook from crying. The one who left me the book. He betrayed her. Before Razor could strike him, I screamed. Stop. He's not worth it. Please. Razor's grip loosened, his scarred face softening when he looked at me. For just a moment, the storm in his eyes broke, and I saw pain, deep pain. He let my father go, shoving him back toward the truck. You're already dead to her, Razor spat. Then his hand was back on my shoulder. Kid. We ride. The bikers swung onto their machines, the growl of the engines filling the night like a war drum. Torch pulled me onto his bike, holding me steady as Razor gave the signal. But as the pack tore off into the darkness, wind slamming against my face, I looked back one last time. Headlights. Dozens of them. Swarming out of the shadows. The cartel had arrived. And they were hunting us. The night blurred into chaos. Wind tore at my face as Torch Spike roared down the highway, the headlights slicing through the dark. Behind us, the cartel's engines grew louder, closer. I gripped Torch's jacket so tight my fingers went numb. My backpack pressed against my chest, the notebook inside thudding with every bump. Hold on, kid. Torch shouted over the roar. Bullets cracked the night. One whizzed past my ear, another sparked off the asphalt. My scream was swallowed by the engines. Razor's voice thundered through the pack. Split formation. Lose them. The bikers scattered, weaving like shadows, but the cartel's trucks and bikes stayed close. Too close. Torch swerved hard into the woods, branches whipping my arms. The smell of dirt and pine filled the air. My heart raced so fast I thought it might burst. We broke into a clearing, the moon spilling silver over the grass. Razor skidded to a stop, his men forming a tight circle again. They're too many, one of them panted. Razor ripped off his helmet. His scar caught the moonlight, his eyes burning. And then he said something that silenced them all. They want the book because it exposes me. I froze. My chest tightened. What? Torch barked. Razor's voice was gravel, low but steady. Years ago. I rode with them. Before I led you. Before I tried to make this club something else. I helped move shipments. I knew the routes. The names. That notebook, it's my ledger. But your mom, she stole it. My stomach dropped. Razor looked at me then, pain carved deep into his scarred face. Your mom wasn't just running from them. She was running with it, to get it to someone who could take them down. That's why she died. And that's why your old man's been after you. My breath hitched. Tears stung my eyes. So my mom, she wasn't just leaving me secrets. She was leaving me justice. Razor nodded. And now it's on us to finish it. Engines roared in the distance again. The cartel was closing in. There wasn't time for grief. Not now. Razor pulled me close, kneeling so our eyes met. Kid, I can't undo my past. But I can damn sure make sure you live to see a future. That's my promise. And then he stood, rallying his men. Tonight, brothers, we don't just ride. We fight. The cartel burst into the clearing like a swarm of wolves, trucks, bikes, guns flashing in the moonlight. I was shoved behind a fallen log as Razor's men pulled their weapons. The air split with gunfire, the smell of smoke and gasoline burning my nose. I covered my ears, shaking, whispering, "Mama, please, keep me safe." Razor's roar cut through everything. "Hold the line." The bikers fought like men who had nothing left to lose. Steel clashed, engines screamed, gunfire echoed. One by one, the cartel pushed harder. And then, sirens. Red and blue lights tore across the tree line. Police. Dozens of them. For a second, everything froze. The cartel scattered like roaches, engines screaming as they bolted back into the woods. A few bikers dropped their guns, hands up, but Razor didn't move. He looked at me, then at the backpack still clutched to my chest. And with a voice loud enough for the cops to hear, he shouted, "She's the witness. The book's the evidence. Get her safe." Hands grabbed me, pulling me to my feet, guiding me toward the flashing lights. I screamed for Razor, reaching out, but he just stood there in the chaos, eyes steady, scar cutting across his face like a battle mark. "Go, kid," he whispered, too soft for anyone but me to hear. "Go live." Days blurred. Questions. Courtrooms. Safe houses. Police telling me words like testimony and protection. But all I cared about was one thing, the notebook. My mom's notebook broke everything open. The names, the routes, the proof. The cartel fell like dominoes, arrests flashing across the news. And my father. Gone. Locked away with the others. But Razor didn't run. He turned himself in. Sat in front of the cops with nothing but his scar and his truth. He pled guilty to his past, but he pled guilty as a man who had changed. A man who saved a little girl when no one else would. I visited him once, months later, in a grey room that smelled like metal and old paper. His scar was the same, but his eyes looked tired. "You kept your promise," I whispered. He smiled, soft and real. "Nah, kid. You kept it. You carried that book. You carried your mama's fight. You're stronger than any of us." Tears filled my eyes as I pressed my small hand against the glass. "I'll never forget." He pressed his hand back. "Ride free, Aliyah. I'm older now. Safer. I live with a family that loves me, in a home that isn't filled with shouting or fists. Sometimes at night, I hear the echo of engines in my dreams. Not the cartels. Not my father's. But Razor's. And I know, no matter what, that somewhere out there, even behind walls of steel and stone, he's still riding for me. Because on the night I begged bikers to save me, the world expected them to be monsters. But they proved that even the toughest hearts can choose compassion. And that choice saved my life.